brought to you by Bethel School of Technology. Learn more at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this is pretty interesting headline. Something strange has been happening with jobless claim numbers lately. Now, this is CNBC, folks. This is not a conservative outlet questioning the Biden administration and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is CNBC, and you got a lot of economists asking questions, and so I think we need to be aware of this. The past several weeks have shown that first-time claims for unemployment benefits haven't fluctuated at all, as in zero. For 5 of the past 6 weeks, initial jobless filings totaled exactly 212,000. So it hasn't fluctuated at all. Now we've got 168 million people actually working. So that seems a little unusual to you, doesn't it? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. In fact, I don't even like talking about conspiracies. It irritates me. If they're true, great. But I don't have time. I don't like to burn mental calories on conspiracy theories. They make for great documentaries. And great conversations, by the way. I just don't like them. But here's what's going on. Every Thursday morning since mid-March, the number has stayed at 212,000 people in unemployment. And as you know, we are theoretically, it's being reported that we're still at record low unemployment, 3.8, 3.7, somewhere in that number, which is historically really, really low. So Jim Bianco is quoting this article. He's head of Bianco Research. This is a guy who runs a research firm, and he says to CNBC, he says, how is this statistically possible? 5 of the last 6 weeks, the exact same number? Initial claims for unemployment insurance are state programs. You got 50 state rules, hundreds of offices, and 50 websites filing information. Weather, holidays, economic vibrations drive the number of people filing claims from week to week. Yet this measure is so stable that it doesn't vary by even 1,000 applications a week. Whoa! Kind of makes you wonder, is somebody cooking the books? And folks, let me just tell you something. I've been in politics. I worked in politics. It is very easy to manipulate numbers. You got people looking at reports and people that are tapping them into a computer on a keyboard. And this is an election year. This is a presidential election year. And the Biden administration is dealing with rampant inflation. And what's good news for the Biden administration? That the job economy is really good. It's just interesting. Even the Labor Department spokesperson noted that the string of 212,000 prints on the jobless claims data is uncommon. It goes on to say, can be reasonably interpreted as an indication that there has been very little volatility in initial claims over this period relative to historical patterns, and that the seasonal adjustment factors are effectively blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, why do I share that? I want you to be the judge. I am not the judge here on this. I don't have the old white powdered wig and the hammer, the gavel. I wish I did. It's not my role. I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to simply report this, that here's where we sit. And this leads to the second headline. GDP growth slowed to 1.6% in the first quarter, well below expectations. Now, again, I'm going to dumb this down because I know you don't come to this show for an economics class. But apparently YouTube likes me to comment on this stuff, so they stick this stuff in front of me. I'm going to try to keep it bottom of the shelf. The gross domestic product, when it's lower than expected, that is saying that the economy is slowing. This is not a political opinion. These are the facts. And so when we see that, we go, oh, the economy is slowing a bit, much less than expected. It increased at 1.6. That's good, but the growth is slowing. the Dow Jones, people that are driving economic policy in many ways in their stock market activity, the money people were looking for an increase of 2.4%, following a 3.4% gain in the fourth quarter. Well, instead of a 3.4% gain, it was only 1.6%. That's a pretty dramatic slowdown. Consumer spending increased, which is what's helping drive inflation. But inflation is back up. So let me explain a term you may have learned in the 7th grade. It's called stagflation. It's really, really bad. All stagflation is when you see the economy, the GDP, reduce and slow down and go backwards. We would call that a recession. And while the recession is happening, inflation is increasing. Now, again, I'm not raising alarm bells, but I am saying pay attention. If you are a wise person and you pay attention to this kind of stuff, and I'm paying attention to it for you, then you can go, oh, okay, what does this mean to me? And I'll tell you in a second. So when the GDP only grew at 1.6%, now you're starting to see that could be very interesting. If it only grows at 0.5%, now you're seeing a slowing. If it goes negative, that would be a recessionary situation. Now, inflation has spiked back up. It's in the news every day. Everything's going up. That's bad. And so you can have a mild recession as long as inflationary pressures are steady. But when inflation is going up and the GDP is going down, let me tell you what happens and why I'm talking about it today. That's when you start to see job layoffs. Big companies get nervous and small businesses get nervous, and they go, we may be headed for a financial storm and an economic storm, and so we're going to reduce expenses. The same thing you would do in your household if you knew that you were going to lose your job or take a pay cut or whatever else, or have a bunch of expenses, maybe some healthcare expenses. What would you do? You would tighten the budget. At least I hope you would. In other words, you would become protectionary. And what I'm suggesting today is we should be on the lookout for this, because we've managed as a U.S. economy to keep a really low unemployment rate during this inflation time. We've really been blessed, to be completely honest with you. You think that inflation sucks now and that it's painful now. Imagine if you weren't making the money you were making or you didn't have a job. So at some point, something has to give. The Fed is not going to lower interest rates. While I'm warning you, let me throw one else out there. 7% interest rates as a result of the treasury yield on your mortgage, it's probably here to stay for a while. 3% mortgage, which I've got, sorry. It's not happening in a long time. In fact, I'd say in my lifetime, it won't happen. So something's got to give, folks, on all this inflation. Why do I share this? Because to the extent that your budget is tight, and as a professional, your job is your livelihood and your paycheck to paycheck, or you don't have a lot of margin, you better start thinking about stacking cash, and you better start thinking about a side hustle or expanding that network and growing that network, so that if there are layoffs and the job market takes a real strong hit, because I think we're poised for that. Because I just know the economy, folks, is a roller coaster. And we've been going up for a long time in this job market. Something's got to give. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to depress you. I'm trying to be Paul Revere, riding through the streets of Boston saying, the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming. Prepare. And I really think that's where we are. And I think with the volatility of a presidential election, where we don't know if one of them's going to be alive or the other one's going to be in jail, these things are real. I'm telling you. Listen, I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm not being political. I'm just going, you're a moron if you're not scared that Joe Biden could die. He's really, really old. And listen, you're an idiot if you think there's not a chance that Donald Trump could go to jail. So what happens if either one, like, that's volatility. We got two old dudes who, and by the way, Trump's really old. He could die. Yeah. So I share this to go, as a person who believes in individual responsibility, that you should be responsible for your financial future, that you should be responsible for your family. I just think this idea that we're rolling along at a 3.8% unemployment rate and I just got a big bump in pay and this is great. And these two old guys, and this is the weirdest political climate we've ever been in. And good Lord, I can't believe these are our choices. But hey, everything's good. And let's just keep spending like a drunken sailor, because that's where we're at. The American people are spending like crazy. The consumption rate is up. That's one of the reasons why inflation is up. Because all these companies, between your burger combo and your sweater at J. Crew, they just keep piling on the increases. We keep going, well, we're going to pay it anyway. And I'm telling you, we are in a very volatile situation right under the surface. I'm just trying to make you aware. What can you do to weather a storm? I see some signs that tell me some storms are brewing. I hope that the storms don't come. But if they do, I'm going to be ready. Will you be ready? You heard it here first. Hope I didn't freak you out or depress you, but somebody's got to tell you. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Launch your tech career today at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.